So this coronavirus, Covid-19, I think I've had it. The symptoms that I had were initially coughing. The first thing I had was coughing. I coughed constantly at first. Well, it wasn't constantly. It first started off with maybe coughing every 3 or 4 minutes, and I had no idea why. So I went to the doctors, and the doctor thought it was acid reflux. Now, I got it worse when I was lying down, but I think that's fairly standard anyway. He thought it was acid reflux, and he basically gave me a mouthwash that was like an anesthetic and also an anti-inflammatory. And I used that for a few days, and I thought personally, after a while, because it definitely wasn't acid reflux. I've not had that since I've been on keto or carnivore diet. So I thought straight away that it would be potentially, this sort of size air fresheners that have batteries in, and they have like a cannon, and every half an hour they squirt air freshener into your room. Well, I did a bit of research, and air freshener seems to be an irritant for a lot of people, causes lots of problems, respiratory problems and stuff, and I thought that was what it was. But then it developed eventually into my lungs having way less capacity. I could kind of breathe like this. I couldn't go. I mean, it's still a bit uncomfortable now, but it literally got to the stage where I could only take really shallow breaths, or it was painful, and I was coughing almost constantly, to the point where I self-isolated for 2 weeks in this room. And this whole thing went on for probably, it's been the better part of a month. Now, having looked at the symptoms for COVID-19 and knowing that they're quite different to the flu or a common cold. For example, there was no sinusitis, and that's not a symptom, a normal, regular symptom of this novel coronavirus, whatever it's called, COVID-19. So I didn't have like blocked sinuses, I didn't have a runny nose, I didn't have any cold symptoms, I didn't sneeze, but I also felt quite weak from time to time. Whether or not that's because I'm doing intermittent fasting, so I don't tend to eat from sort of mid to late evening through to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll have a bulletproof coffee, so I have coffee with butter and MCT oil early in the morning. Well, I say early, probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And that keeps me going. I don't feel hungry. I don't crave food because I'm very, very minimal carb. And it hasn't been a problem for me for months and months and months. But whether that and this virus together has made me weaker, I don't know. Maybe I should have eaten more food in between to compensate. And I tend to now a bit more. But I mean, those were the typical symptoms. So it was the constant coughing, not being able to breathe properly, and that getting worse and worse. But now it's got a lot better. I'm a hell of a lot better now. So I guess the only questions I've got for anyone who's medical out there who might want to answer this is, because it's been something like nearly a month, I hear that you're only really contagious for maybe the first 7 to 10 days, something like that. And that's why they're asking people who've got the symptoms to isolate for 7 to 10 days. I may be wrong. It would be nice if a doctor could just confirm to me that now I can go out. It sounds like I've had this particular infection, that I'm no longer going to be able to spread it to anybody. I still cough now and again, and at the end of it, the tail end of it, I was producing some mucus. It was mid to dark green, but not really dark green. So I was producing some of that just a little bit, mainly in the mornings when I was coughing in the mornings. And then I'd clear my throat and I'd be all right for maybe a couple of hours. And it got a lot better, and to the point where I've only coughed 3 or 4 times this morning, and I've been up for like 5 hours or something already. So I don't know. I'd be interested anyway to see whether or not somebody thinks that's more than likely what I've had. But I'm sure it wasn't a cold. It was unlike any cold I've ever had. I'm sure it wasn't the flu. I've had flu lots of times in my life. Well, a number of times in my life. And normally everything's bunged up. Normally, like I'm sneezing. There's been none of that. It literally has been all about my upper or lower respiratory tract. It's been my lungs, it's been my coughing, it's been a small amount of green mucus in the back of my throat, weakness, lethargy. I had lethargy for maybe 3 or 4 days, and I definitely had a fever because the doctor said it was a mild fever. I wasn't incredibly high temperature, I wasn't burning up, but I was higher than what I should normally be. And a couple of nights, I was just sitting in my lounge pants and a t-shirt in the house. Yeah, the heating was on, but it wasn't on really hot. And I was a bit sweaty. I was quite sweaty. So I'm assuming that was a mild fever. And these seem to be what they're saying are symptoms of COVID-19. So that's been my experience. If anybody else has had a different experience, it will be interesting to know. Keep an eye on what the news is saying. I'm missing my flights now to my holiday destination. I was looking forward to going. Had to get my money back off the travel insurance. Yeah, all in all, it's not been pleasant, but looking forward to coming out the other side. All right, thanks a lot. See you later.